It's obviously easier to go through life completely ignorant of the rest of the world and society beyond our own bubble. I mean, it's easy not to talk on challenging topics, maybe things that could ostracize you, and cause some fallback. So it's easy to play it safe, of course. But nothing changes when we allow dictatorship and moral corruption to spread and cause division and take away people's basic human rights. The real problem is, I know it's in society in general, is that so many people conform to traditional rules and structure, like it's the safe bet, or it's like so ingrained to them that that's what's expected. So they're really just sheep, not really questioning whether this is actually right. Like, who decided these things? But what we're seeing in real time, especially with Trump, we're seeing someone literally moving the bar in whatever direction he chooses. And it's not even just specific people end up having to get marginalized, of course, but then people have to toe the line. But because of his standing as the president of the United States, a powerhouse of a nation, it affects other nations. So one lunatic has the ability to cause so much unrest and cultural and societal change, not only in America, but around the world. And there's so many people who literally just fall for his propaganda and they just worship at his feet. And the guy is an absolute narcissist. He's already been tried as a criminal. Now, that's crazy, but he's the president of the United States. But then there've been corrupt presidents in the past. So it's hardly anything new. But it's how brazen he is, it's crazy. So, so what I'm seeing at the moment is these ICE officials who are the immigration for the United States, intent on deporting people, but they don't, it's the part that I have issue with. I've always had issues with that anyway, in the sense that people are treated differently just based on where they come from, where they're born. It's like we're all human beings. I think when you start segregating and justifying your significance at the expense of someone else, I think it's a dangerous precedent. And I think it's quite naive and ridiculous, to be totally honest, that because you was born to privilege, you can look down at others. I talk about it a lot. And that's something that will always bother me, because it takes away from the fact that we're all here having this human experience on this absolute hellhole called Earth. And we're trying to find our peace, just our place in this world. And yet there's some places that will literally treat you subhuman. Like you're not significant. They're rounding people up. Oh, it's a sad way to say it, but they're rounding people up like animals. But then I think you go deep enough into that. Why do we treat animals so poorly? So it's not really fair, really. That's not really fair on animals either, though, is it? You can start going, enough of this thing, Every entity deserves a fair quality of life. So, yeah. So the way people are being treated, it actually, to my soul, it disgusts me. Like, deeply disgusts me. I find it disturbing. Now, there's always going to be people on either side. People absolutely don't like what I say a lot. When I talk about this sort of topic, I get downvotes like crazy, and I always just laugh, because it's like, who has indoctrinated these people who are so impulsive to dislike a video before they've even seen the end, but actually side with such a narcissistic leader? It's just crazy to me. Now, there's always it's polarizing. You might see that people stand their ground. They say, we all deserve our freedom. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm just standing here. I'm a bystander. Then you get some overpowered person who has authority. They just literally, it's their ego. They're on their high horse. Everything's ego with they've got no respect for other people. All they see is themselves above others. And that's these ICE officials. And I see them. I'm going to show videos in a moment. One I thought was absolutely so ridiculous because it was trivial. Guy standing on the pavement, minding his own business. But because he was given a command by someone who was on their high horse on a power trip, he had to now follow through, because his ego was being challenged to the point where he obviously felt he's going to be made to look stupid if he doesn't follow through. So he made a situation that escalated for no reason, because he couldn't control himself. So the person refused to move because, of course, it's your freedom. Why should you keep moving back? How far back are you supposed to go? You're doing that. I know some people say if you're given an order, do as you're told. This isn't school. You're not a child. These people, they've given more power. It's not, I wouldn't even say this. I mean, on the fundamental stage, you would say they've been given more power than they should be authorized to have. But I don't even know if they've been given the authority to do that. But I think there's no accountability, and I think that's the scarier part for me. It's not necessarily they've been given the authority to behave in the way they are, but it seems to be there's no accountability when they do cross a line. So they're literally almost like bounty hunters. That's what it feels like. And yet they're supposed to be a federal agency. Well, I don't know the exact terms, federal and all that nonsense in America, because everybody has their own thing. You've got state, federal, who knows what the hell the differences are a lot of the time. But fundamentally, there's literally just people on power trips. And, some people just say they're just doing the job. Well, there's plenty of jobs out there. You can be a baker. You can literally be anything. You choose to put on this attire, and you choose to treat people like they're not even people. That's a decision, isn't it? And I find it quite interesting that they're on the streets, in streets of America, and they're wearing army fatigues. What are you trying to do? They're obviously trying to intimidate and impose themselves. Again, to what end? It's just bullies marching around, ruining and destroying people's lives. And you're going to see, I think it's actually traumatizing as shit. You're seeing them using like children as pawns to try to entice the person they want to arrest or whatever they're doing. They're using children as fodder, and they literally have no moral compass. They don't even care. There's no compassion at all. It's like they don't even see, this is what I'm saying though. They don't see people as humans. They just see them as a statistic or something, It's just a number to them. It's just a quota. They literally don't care at all. These are like sociopaths. And I find that deeply alarming. Then you look at the president, he's no different to these people. He'd be doing it if he could, And like I say, there'd be people who justify and say, well, if you've got nothing to hide, that's not how it works. From what the things I've seen over a period of time, they don't seem to care. They don't seem to care about the rule of law. It's well known. You're supposed to have a warrant when you enter a premises. You need a warrant signed from a judge to give you the authority to enter a private residence. And it seems to be that, whether they've been given the authority, I don't understand how that could be. I don't know if it's been declared that a judge has allowed this, or the president has the authority to override a judge. Because from my understanding, he still has to abide by Congress and things. So I don't understand where they've been given the authority to go beyond that and invade someone's home. So maybe they have, and it's a misunderstanding on my point. And you might say there's an ignorance from me. If that's the case, then I've messed it up. If I haven't got it wrong, then they're breaking the law. But like I said at the beginning, the scariest part isn't necessarily those things. It's the lack of accountability. It's the way if you was in war, people get held accountable after the war's finished. If they've maybe killed people innocently, people who were innocent and they should have been prisoners of war. Somehow, somewhere, it gets filed. And then they get done. They get tried for, I don't know, I can't remember what you call it now. War crime. They get done for war crimes. So I actually do think personally that people who were involved in this stage in timeline, I think they will get held accountable. We've seen it before with Trump. He was held accountable when he left office. All of a sudden, the agencies start doing their job and they actually do the right thing for the American people. And they literally, but of course, he's good at manipulating the narrative, Trump, and he tried to turn it like there's an agenda. You're fighting the American people all the time, mate. It will catch up. And all these people who are doing his bidding, I feel like each and every one of them will be held accountable. And in all reality, I would think it's going to be near impossible for any of them to find jobs after. Who would hire them? Unless it's some sort of vengeful lunatic organization that wants them people. But in the average society, who wants someone working for you who has no moral compass and is literally prepared to destroy your family on a whim, if they're given the power to do so? Because they don't seem to discern between anything. They might start looking at demographics and say, well, it's this demographic of people that we're targeting. But they have no problem going after just absolutely anyone. As soon as you're in their firing line, doesn't matter the reason, they go on power trips. It's almost like, I don't want to say it, but sometimes you hear about security officers who maybe they had issues at school and they couldn't get into the police force, so then they were security officers, and then they act like they're police officers. They really take it too far. And I get this impression from these ICE agents, like they either didn't make it in the police force, or they didn't cope well in the army, or they couldn't do something. And it's like they've just joined this thing because they want to feel powerful. And it just feels like the A-Team or something. It's really mental to me. I wasn't going to do the video, but it's just like, I didn't see one video on it. Because my timeline, for instance, on social media, it differs. Sometimes I'll get up to date politics, I'll get things that are happening in the world. Then I'll get just completely different content that takes me away from that for a while, which is kind of like nice. It's nice to detach. And then I'll get a wave of stuff that just does my absolute head in, and it's really hard to turn a blind eye. And I'm not someone that particularly wants to turn a blind eye, to be honest. If I see an issue, I will talk about it. And I know full well there is fallback because people don't like it. They follow a lunatic's narrative, and then eventually they wake up. And I think it's nice that eventually you do, but I think really it's like everybody needs to start thinking for themselves and start subtracting away all of anything that's been doctrined into you, and just think about what a society should look like, and then look at the way the world is today and think, how does it match? Because it doesn't. It literally does not. I think I don't like badgering at people, and I don't like telling people they're idiots. I will do it, but I don't really want to have to do it. I'd rather they just saw where they're going wrong so they stop being idiots. But just like I say, I think it's just a bit like this security situation I said, people maybe didn't get into this. They want to seem important here. There'll be people who are lack of education, or, there's just issues in their society. Maybe they don't feel valued, or they're struggling to have significance, or there's just something, So that's why people become like ridiculously patriotic to the point where they think they're all encompassing this and everything else is radical thinking. And it's like, you're the radical thinker, unfortunately. You're the one that's become a cultist because you've built into this ideology that because you're part of this, it makes you really strong, formidable, and pure. And it's like, you're really not. Everybody is a mix of something. Culture is diverse. The world is diverse. It's just the idea that anybody or any pocket of society is 100% pure of something is absolutely mental. You're going to have grandparents, parents of different race, different religions even. Well, that's scary, isn't it? If you're a devout religious person, the idea that maybe somewhere along your bloodline they believed in a different faith, or maybe they had little faith, no faith, and maybe went completely in the dark arts or something, that would be like crazy, wouldn't it? You'd say, I would disown them. You don't get to disown the generations before you. That's literally what created you. So if you was to say, I wouldn't allow it, well, then you wouldn't exist. You're a byproduct of everything that come before you. If you was to go back into the past and eradicate anybody, that would kill the bloodline, wouldn't it? It would literally stop that event from happening. So literally you wouldn't exist. And perhaps in that situation, it's best you didn't. I don't like saying things like that, but if some people cannot get away from that radical ideology, that one nation is more important than another, or one race is more important, it's just stupid. It really is. It's like, you're no more important than the next person. You're just led to believe that you are. And you're led to believe that other people are insignificant and their human life has like some sort of like monetary value based on where they come from, how they speak, and all those things. Everybody has the capacity to heal, to evolve, educate themselves. Everybody can overcome a circumstance. They have the potential in them to do so. But it's quite demoralizing that when people do invest in uplifting their lives, they do invest in progressing. There's pockets of society that are intent on destroying any progress. And that's what these ICE agents are doing. And there's obviously people who support it, which is mental to me. You get people who come to another country, they're intent on working hard, they contribute to society. They're building a life that, that's sometimes flourishing. In some cases, perhaps they're struggling. Aren't we all? And yet some people think they don't deserve to be there or something, or that their life's value is less. And it's crazy to me. Because a lot of time, those who do judge heavily aren't actually doing anything with their lives. I always find that quite interesting. Even here in the UK, there'll be some that are really, really radical thinkers. Like, they think they're being smart because they're going the opposite direction to the way maybe the average person thinks. But sometimes they go so indoctrinated with racial hate and all these other situations where they think they're the most educated and intelligent. It's like, you're not. You've just bought into some cult ideology that's literally took hold, and now you can't wrap your mind around anything else. And it's just crazy to me, And you do see it in other places. And of course, we see it in religions as well. So it's not just, I can go on a huge tangent about all those things. But injustice bothers me a lot, and I don't like people on power trips and literally treating people subhumanly. So I don't want to keep saying they treat them like animals, because that doesn't do justice to animals either, does it? Because why are animals? Let's just say subhuman. It treats people like they don't exist, or they didn't deserve to exist, or they're no more than just bones. Like, who are you to? Who is anyone to suggest that? You know, and again, usually these people on power trips, they're literally fragile mentally people. They're not very strong or intelligent. They just posture and want to be strong. They're literally, that's all they are, bullies. That's how I see it. So you got to stand up to bullies, you know. So when I see people speaking up and standing their ground, and then they just get charged, knocked over, and they put in an ambulance, it's like, what does that signify? That's anarchy breaking loose. I'm not suggesting people rise against in certain ways. But you do notice, I just saw an article and it said about 300 agents have been deployed to Chicago. And it's like, I don't know how the population of Chicago, but I would say there's millions of... Whenever there's this force that's put in to cause... They call it defending, but really they're an invasion. They're an invading force, hiding behind being domestic peace and order, you know, policing. But it's not. They're an invasion. And there's enough people... in any country, any part of society, if they rose up and stood against, you've got 300 officers, even if it was like 5,000 people, it's like those who govern only have control as much as people allow in the control. When people step up and they don't allow that to happen, those who wield power are now powerless. It's the masses are the ones that speak. This is why the voting matters. When you vote, you actually decide democratically who is elected and all those things. But what Trump's done, he's made a load of lies getting into office, and then he's completely gone back on them and betrayed whoever voted for him because they had vulnerabilities in their life. So I see a lot of that with you know, a lot of it was just to do with money, people just struggling to pay their bills, and he was their savior to help them get through this and start actually coping better. And of course, where the bills were just rising and this lunatic keeps spilling nonsense, they might have believed him for a while, expecting change to come soon, and then you realise he's just full of shit. And by then, too much has happened. He's eradicating people's rights. And he has the audacity to say around the rest of the world there's a lack of free speech. Well, every time anyone speaks up against anything in America, he attacks them and puts them on like a watch list. I don't want to go on anti-Trump thing because it does me head in, and I don't see the point anymore of talking about that buffoon. People come and go. People come and go. He only has as much power as people allow him to have that power. We saw it in the UK, for instance. Boris Johnson, sometimes he seems likeable. Sometimes he was just like, it was so blatant he was lying all the time. He's bumbling and mumbling. Trump does his own white mannerism, but you can see he's just like Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson was just removed from office by his peers. So I don't know how that works in America, but in the UK, the Conservative Party can remove and put someone else in office if the party don't agree with the way they're behaving. I don't know if the Republican Party can do it with Trump or not, but the reality is there's consequences, isn't there? Because the party suffers when we've got an unhinged lunatic in charge. So, you know, that can happen, can't it? Anyway, let's get off that. Let's just have a look at some evidence. Shall we see evidence? Now, when I say evidence, people will get, again, polarizing. Some people agree. Some people will say, oh, there's always ways to get around things. But if you keep stepping back every time people keep pushing forward, when does anything change? You're just giving them more power. We've just established, or at least I've explained, when you stand up in groups, so it's outnumbering those who are the opposing force, you now set the tone. So they can't keep pushing you back because there's too many of you pushing forward, or at least standing your ground. If there's just one, they all out there. If you look, the numbers, that's what they're always trying to outnumber everybody, which then outmaneuvers. And it's like, if you look, they put themselves into positions where it's so unnecessary. They're literally encroaching on other people's space. So if you just left if these ICE agents just left people alone, nothing would happen. But their ego just runs rampant, and they're the ones that push into the issue. If you look, there's this tape. I'm going to show it in a sec. And it's like, that's the line, don't cross. Okay, I understand that. If you go into that line, you've encroached into their space. You're now a threat. That's understandable. They've set it clear. That you can come along with that. When they're so annoyed that the fact that you're talking to them or you're recording something or something, it's just bothering them. They then come out of that zone and now threaten you to move back. And it's like, why should you move back? You have every right to question that. But these are not intelligent, articulated people. They can't have intelligent conversations because they would lose. So they always resort to violence and force. So as soon as they're asked a simple question that they know full well, if they answer it, it will make them look stupid, because often they cross a line that shouldn't be crossed. So they overexert their authority, but because they're never held accountable, they all do it. So anyway, that's that. Let's try and get the video up. Right. So let's start with this one. There's about 5 videos. They're varying in length. This one is the one where a guy was literally just standing his ground. He ended up in an ambulance in 1 minute of a clip. And it's just like, every stage of this was just ridiculous. And I didn't, for 1 minute, blame them at all. I blame the agents, because they're the ones that escalated it. The other guy just stood his ground. You see this tape? The agents themselves are pushing the tape further forward. They're trying to make the zone wider. Why? Because people are there and they don't want people to have power.
Move back! Come on! What you want to do?
He's even pulling a gun on him, look. It's probably rubber bullets, but it's not the point.
Step back. Step back.
This is it. Look, step back. What? Why has he even got to tell him to step back? He's not hurting anyone. He's not even in the road. Why has this agent got to come to his face to do that when clearly all the other agents are over here? So why is he on his lonesome over here trying to push him further back? How far does he want him? To go into the shop? Everybody gets off the streets? It's like cowboys.
I'm on a public
Look. Even this guy's like, wait, I can't, just calm down. But this guy here is on a massive power trip. His ego is running rampant, and that's all it is. And I see people say here, he said step back. Who gives a shit what you said? Who cares what you said? These people, they're everyday people who have applied for a job and got a job. They've been given some authority, which I believe personally they're overexerting. So they have no authority to go as far as they do. But too many people are simpletons who just agree, and they just give these people their power trips. And they're saying that's what they do. They agree. He said step back. Yeah, but for what purpose? Explain it. Like, I understand if you crossed the line and you went in there, you have every right to be tackled and arrested because you're interfering with whatever is happening in that area. But he's not in any zone by the look of it. And he's not much further away than the next person. Look at the hands in this picture. This person's here. They're just here. This guy's no threat. He's got his hands literally in his back. He's not doing anything. But people are just stupid because they just agree with everything they say, and it's just like crazy.
He's not doing anything. You're saying that. He's not doing anything. I need you to stand over there. No, he's not. I'm going to stand right here. He's not doing anything. I'm going to stand right here. I'm going to stand.
I don't think for a moment that every agent agrees. I think once someone sets in motion a sequence of events, if they feel compelled to support to support that action, so they carry on with the arrest and all those things. But I don't think they always agree. I think they know when someone's overstepped the line. But it's all for one, you know. And of course, this guy's now trying to establish a perimeter. So now they have to make a new perimeter when it didn't even need all this. I can understand him saying, look, we need space, because you can't have people start jumping in and interfering during an arrest, because that's now what they're establishing. But it didn't need to become this. All of a sudden, they're trying to now push people back. And who knows how many people are there? So it's created a volatile situation. And one day there's going to be a situation where people are going to react back. And the real problem is these agents are causing it to themselves. And it might be an innocent agent gets hurt one day because of the actions of those that come before, because it sets a precedent. You know, the lack of accountability is that people only get suppressed so far before they react, and that's the whole way through history. All the way through history, there's always kings and things. They thought they can do what the hell they want to people, and then there was revolts. People come back against them. You know, and it will happen anywhere. You can only treat people like animals, like caged rats. And you can only push the rat so far against a wall before they can't go anywhere else, and then they fight back. It's the same thing. They do it, and when you're doing it in people's personal neighborhoods, that it's volatile.
You're next.
I mean, does that seem justified? So I'm just going to show the clips now. I'm going to try not to talk on all of them because I want people to think for themselves. It's quite clear what I think. I've already explained it enough times. And I want people to think for themselves outside the bubble of what people have been educated to believe, or what like Trump says, or what the establishment says. This is the clear thing. There's no accountability. That's the scary part. If you cross a line as an agent of any law enforcement, you should be held accountable. You should be detained. You should be suspended, and then there should be a trial. So the people who, like I said, whether they were like all for one, if they recognise one steps out, they should then detain that agent themselves and say, well, we don't behave like that. But instead they don't. They encourage it all amongst each other. Because who's the leader?
Note, the President of the United States is not sending troops into...
So this is going to be a bit political, but I think it's important to put context as to why these agents are in these specific spaces.
Republican cities or into Republican states. He's talked about it, but that's not what he's doing. He is focused on Democrats, and now he's made an enemies list. He's made a list of people that are his political opponents, and he's calling us domestic enemies. I mean, what kind of a country are we in here? The United States used to be a country where the president followed the Constitution, where the president believed in the rule of law, where the president didn't target people based on their views, but rather had debate with people and maybe won, maybe lost in an election and put their views forward and got them passed. But the idea that you're going to go suggest that you're going to arrest people or that people don't deserve to be U.S. citizens when they are, just because they oppose the President of the United States. I mean, there is something genuinely wrong with this man, and the 25th Amendment ought to be invoked. Note.
Yep. Right, anyway. Awesome. Yeah, okay, I'll let people watch themselves.
Your name is Dana Bird! Your name is Dana Bird! Get back! Get back! Get back! Your name is Dana Bird! Get back! Your name is Dana Bird! Get back! Get back! Get back!
Well, I said I weren't going to do anything, but that's just ridiculous. I mean, I know it's like, I don't know if it's air gun or what the hell it is, or bean bags, who knows. But come on, man, they're just standing there. It's not like they're threatening, they've got weapons or they look violent, you know. It's like people are just standing there observing. I can understand they're trying to build a perimeter or whatever the hell people want to justify it, but they're going way above. These are actual civilians. These are the people you actually sworn to serve and protect. You're not supposed to serve and protect the US president. That would be the Secret Service. The other enforcements are for the American people. It's literally for America. So it's not necessarily specifically for the president. So literally serve and protect the people, and yet you're treating people like they're the enemy. It's like, literally, what is this? What is this? It's an invasion.
Hey, if you spit, yes, sir. Get out. Yes, sir. Alan, date of birth. Date of birth. What's your name? Date of birth. What's your birthday? Help me. Alan, date of birth. 9/1/99.
I will say this guy here is asking him for his name and his date of birth. He's got it. See, what he's doing is holding these officials, what the hell are they? Freaking bandits at this point. They're holding them accountable. So they can try to then locate this guy and identify it, like where they placed him, and trace it. Because people are just going missing. You know, it's quite frightening, really. Because other people, maybe they're immune to it, maybe they feel they're safe and they're not going to ever be in this situation, they turn a blind eye and don't care. Because people are self-preserving. They don't actually care about. There's no common decency a lot of time in society. People just don't care beyond their own little bubble. I always think it's a bit sick myself. I have a hard time personally coping in this society and this world. I don't like it. And it really, what a society stands for goes against everything I do. But I won't sit in the shadows silently. If I see something wrong, I'll talk about it. If it pisses people off, couldn't give a shit. The ones it pisses off are the ones who have no moral compass anyway. So what do I care what they think of me? Do you see what I mean? I don't care. Literally do any job, they choose to do this. See, people just observe and asking questions. They said, what is he being arrested for? Now, I don't think the officers have to specifically answer a stranger, but I very much doubt they've even told the person what they're being arrested for either. I think that's the same video.
Don't touch it!
This one I will speak on, just to give context. It might be obvious here, but I just want it to be seen straight away. There's a little girl here. They're suggesting their child is 5 years old. They're using that child as bait to get the parents to leave their house so they can arrest them. And yet they're not explaining what they've done wrong or anything. They want their IDs, but they won't take it from the window. They have to do it in person because, of course, they don't want their IDs. They're not even interested in the IDs. They'll just arrest them on the spot because we've seen it time and time again. And if you actually look, the way they talk, they literally have no respect for any human life. They don't care that it's traumatizing for the child. The mother makes a point that I think they're autistic or something. Their child's autistic. They've got issues. They might just be saying that. But let's say, for instance, the child does have sensory issues and all sorts of problems. This is going to be overwhelming for them. But they just don't care. They just don't care because they're sociopaths. Anyway.
She born here.
Don't touch her! If you touch her, you're gonna have problems. People, that's what you do. See
I won't interrupt anymore. I just want to make this point. One of the officers, I think it's the one on the right-hand side here in a minute, towards the end of the video, he makes a point that he tries to antagonize again by saying he's not a man because he's hiding behind a woman. How many officers have they called in to try to arrest one single person? And that's what they do all the time. And they talk about trying to be man and macho and like trying to step up. So how many of you are you taking to do this? You're just intimidating the whole neighborhood all the time. Cowards. Who's the coward? Dressed up like they're in the army.
If you touch her, you're gonna have problems.
More than welcome to come pick her up.
No, look, that's where I am.
Daughter, come here so I can see those IDs.
This guy.
Hey, I can give it to your daughter.
You can do it right here.
No, I can give it to the door. You guys use care people. That's what you do. See how you have the kids over there? That's what you doing with this. You guys use care people. That's what you do. See how you have the kids over there? That's what you doing with this country? Huh? You put it upside down.
I will say on this incident, they do seem to have an official police officer because a lot of times they have these bloody agents who don't even identify themselves. But although this guy has black police written on it, I very much doubt it's even police. It's just the shit they wear. But there is an actual guy wearing all the black fatigue, you know, the police uniform. So I thought at least that gives it some credibility because a lot of time they just do what the hell they want. This is just sad. Look at this poor child.
Please, sir. She have autism spectrum, please.
She's just holding a hostage.
We can see your ID. You're going to have to come out. Bring your ID. We'll check you too.
Okay, I'm gonna give you my ID back. Give me my daughter back.
No, you're going to have to physically come out here.
Okay, that's the way you treat people.
You're such a real man. You know that? You're a real man. Hiding behind a lady.
And you guys,
Everybody know about this. This is on Facebook.
Right, it says, and this is the Boston Globe, so that you can take this as it's written. You know, if it's independent, someone's just saying things, you take things with a pinch of salt. But they would have fact-checked, I would assume, because of the fact that it's literally a proper organisation. So it says, January 2024, he was arrested on 4 charges, including strangulation, assault and battery, and reckless endangerment of a child. Oh, so that's what he's previously been done for, and that's why they're rearresting him. 4 charges, including strangulation, assault and battery. The girl's mother was also arrested on similar charges. All charges against both were dismissed by April of that year. So there were potentially false charges. So if they were dismissed, why are they being arrested now? He was detained 2 days later outside the home and is now being held by ICE. So 2 days after the case was dismissed, they were arrested.
Don't touch it!
Yeah, like someone else puts there, you know, kidnapping's false imprisonment. This is the one where no warrant, they're just invading people's homes, pretty much.
You don't have to show you an arrest.
To enter a home, you have to show a warrant.
We can sit here and argue this. Who's the wife? Who's the wife?
Nobody's the wife, and why would you need
Who's
the wife are you? Which one of y'all's the
Who
wife?
lives here?
Alright.
Who lives here? Do y'all want him to go to jail, or do y'all want to talk?
We want to see the warrant. We want to see the warrant. Where's the
Who's the
warrant?
wife? Okay. Alright, then never mind.
No firme nada si no quiere. No tiene que hablar ni decir nada.
Y'all don't have to slam the door. This isn't your property. This isn't your property to be slamming doors. She didn't say anything to you.
I'm underage.
Doesn't matter.
She didn't say anything to you. She didn't say.
All because they mentioned slamming the door. You see how quick they opened the door and just jumped at them? This is what they're like. They are literally sociopaths. But I personally think they will all get held accountable once this administration is ended and you get a new party in charge, and then there's a review of everything that's happened. I think you'll find an awful lot of them getting held accountable and getting arrested themselves. I have no doubt about that. It's too much video footage. There are a lot of them hiding behind face masks and stuff, but that's apparently, you know, there's certain states. I think Newsom in California has made an order that they can't, no one in California can wear that mask to hide your identity. Whether it gets enforced, I don't know, but I thought that's good because that's a good start, because then obviously it will help hold people accountable, because while they have free reign to cover their face, do what the hell they want, can't they? Like I said, the cowboys. I'm not going to keep going there. That's the four or so videos I saw in quick succession. It triggered me. I'm sure as soon as I do this video, which tends to happen, I'll get flooded with loads more, and I'll think, oh, I could have done with that one. I could have done with that one. But I think reality is about opening people's eyes to it, like the injustices in this world. And then it's up to them, people, to really how you want to process that information and what you want to do about it. You know, ignorance isn't always bliss, is all I would say, because, you know, things have a habit of coming back around. So when you decide, you know, it's not your problem, one day it could very well be your problem, and you'll wonder why no one else listens, because when you're still of a society that's just as culpable as the authorities that govern it, you know, some people only have themselves to blame when that's what they encouraged. I mean, we saw it. We actually saw it when people voted for Trump. They did it because they didn't care about other people. And what happened? I think there was something to do with the floodings as well. Like, for instance, they had no value of human life. They didn't care about other people suffering. So they felt justified in Trump doing these removals of people. You know, taking them from their homes, separating families. And as soon as the flooding happened and Trump weren't there supporting it or giving aid, all of a sudden you've got people who supported Trump in those neighborhoods are now like fighting for their livelihoods and things. And maybe they lost lives as well in the process because he took funding away. So people are seeing on the other side here that you voted for someone and it's destroying your life. Or perhaps you thought you was protected, you thought you was safe, you voted for Trump, and he's then detained and removed a family member, you know? Because people don't think it's going to affect them personally until it does. And then when it does, it's like, oh, crap. It's like, mate, yeah, exactly. Open your eyes before it's too late.